the ban that only gets you access to entry or to a food line or to food trucks can now be solvable to helping save lives, can now be more of a response to people that are now on site and on ground.
But, all right. So we covered a little bit of the Travis Scott tragedy. And of course, people have been asking, when is he going to speak about it? Is he ever going to speak about it? We gave our take of, is it good to talk now? Is it not? We gave a little bit of it. Well, he came out and he did an interview with Charlemagne the God, right? And I don't want to get too into, was it a good idea? Was it not? What I will say is it's clear that it's running heavy to him and that it bothers. That is clear as day. But the one thing I did see that I really liked out of the interview is that he thought of a solution, right? And so I'll let you guys hear the solution and kind of see where we're going with this. Once again, we're not talking about, was it a good idea? Was it a bad idea? Do we agree? Do we not? I'm only going based off what he says in this particular part.
People come into these festivals with these bands that only scan you in, right? You have all type of tech now that can track your heart, can track your, oxygen levels, can track if you're gonna be sick. You can put things now if you're gonna be, get lost. It's all type of ways now. I feel like that can be the ban that only gets you access to entry or to a food line or to food trucks can now be solvable to helping save lives, can now be more of a response to people that are now on site and on ground.
So, first off, I thought that was really good. Okay. I don't know why that hasn't been thought about. And maybe I will say for me, I'm never in a concert or anything that is going to make me pass out or possibly die or anything like that. I'm not in danger. I make sure that I sit in the very first or second row on the top level kind of thing, right? So I could chill and I could still see, no one bugs me. I'm not surrounded by a lot of, I'm not in that whole moshing situation. So I never needed to think about a solution like that, right? But he does have a point where, okay, if you can track this, that, and the third, why can't we have that as far as admission? Now, of course, you want to say that now, but that comes with a cost. And we all know, well, not maybe we all, but me and Moose definitely knows how expensive an event can be. Now, a festival of that amount, plus security, setup, lights, the big screens, the pyro, all that probably costs $1 million to few, right? There's nothing light. So to say, instead of just maybe a little rubber band kind of thing, why don't we go a little bit more into the tech side? But then we have to also consider, okay, not only the tech and the bracelet, but who is going to monitor it. So now we have to have personnel that is actually in a whole other trailer or a whole other section of the festival and actually having people monitor that. Then when it is something happens, who is going to react to it? So that probably adds up, and maybe that was a solution before, and they were like, hey, it's a little expensive. I don't know if that's really cool. But I do believe that tech is hitting more of these particular events more and more. If you go to certain comedy places, they have this kind of lockbox for your phone, and it cannot open. I know Kevin Hart is big on that. Like, everybody drop your phone in this particular thing. I think Dave Chappelle is another one too. Drop it. You cannot record. And if we catch you even trying to, you are kicked out and never coming back. Right. So if they have little things like that for the phone, I could imagine that something like that after this event could possibly show up as far as how do we track people's vitals and, but I will give him that. I think coming up with a solution to this whole situation, because there will be more concerts. I do believe he will do another one. And if not, he is helping the next artist who may have the similar situations. Because this isn't, maybe in hip hop, it isn't as normal, except for maybe this, the newer kind of situations. But the rage movement is not new. Mosh pits and all that is not new. So the fact that he is now on a solution base, because clearly he can't do anything else. Don't even try, but like you might as well start thinking of the solution. So I don't know what you may have thought about it.
Yeah, no, I love it, and in a way that's why we named the episode what we named it, right? Because he could have sat there and continued to cry wolf, right? And I know in the beginning he was getting a good amount of heat for the type of video that he first put out. I know there was some memes that were rolling around.
He's getting heat for this one. He is absolutely getting heat for this one.
Okay. So I mean, I think, and look, what happened in that concert obviously is nothing to joke about, but I do like that he's pulling and fighting to get himself on the other side. And look, while it's easy for us to sit here and point fingers and blame, and again, I'm not talking about the situation, I'm just talking about the reality of what we face on a day-to-day basis. If either of us were in his seat, we all would be doing everything in our power to figure out, all right, how do I get myself out of this? So you can't blame the man for what he's attempting to do. And again, I'm not speaking to just the situation of Travis Scott. I'm talking in general, right? So to approach it with that perspective so that we can jump to the lesson and really figure out what to do, that's the part that I think, is a big takeaway here, Nix. Not caught up in trying to protect the ego, not trying to defend yourself for the things that went wrong, but to the best of your ability, try to be innovative and think about, okay, what are some things that we can do so that we can avoid these situations from happening, not just for myself, but for others who enjoy this type of experience. Because I think even for some of us listening to this, we may not necessarily care for any of what's happening because we're not into mosh pit. We're not into that type of crowd or into that type of energy. But for those who are, which clearly there's a big crowd, right? If they're allowing 50,000 people into some of these concerts, so it lets you know that there is definitely a community that is into that. If our true concern is safety and well-being, then I think that is something to consider as a great solution, right? I can see that being, like you said, not just a heart monitor, but maybe even a tracking device to know where someone is. If there are any issues, then you can get to them as soon as possible. I think managing the traffic is still going to be one of those situations because you can track somebody, you can know where they are, you can know that they're in danger and need help. But if you can't go through a crowd to get to them, in due time, I think that's where maybe that could still be a challenge. But hey, nonetheless, a lesson for us to all walk away with: when you're up against a wall, stop trying to protect your ego, but work on that solution.
I agree. Now, let me play devil's advocate real quick, fast and hurry, right?
Okay.
No pun intended, because some people think he's very demonic. But we've seen...
Oh, I saw what you did there.
He's like
That's
that.
good.
Like that,
That's good.
right?
That's a nice little... Yeah, it's good.
Just a little bit.
I told you about those TikToks. I got a little rundown on.
Well, he said it. Yeah, he said it in the interview. He talked about it.
He talked about it.
Yeah, Watch the interview because it's a struggle, right? But yeah, watch the interview. So we've seen celebrities take on kind of do both, where they use their own platform to say their story, or they jump on an Oprah, now clearly a Charlemagne, and kind of express their side of the story, right?
Yeah.
With this kind of situation, right? We've seen him try to speak on his own, and it, I think it was a little bit premature, right? And now this, where kind of guided by Charlemagne, which he did an amazing job, but still to a lot from what I'm reading, but I need to read a bit more. Still not well received. So, do you feel that he should have went a little bit more professional instead of just on his phone and kind of use his platform to say more of his side, or was it a safe route to go the Charlemagne side?
Well, I think you need to do both, but there needs to be a little bit more thought that goes into something like that, right?
Okay.
When you're looking at something of that magnitude or that size, that's a big situation, especially when that amount of people are angry at the situation. So there has to be a little bit more thought that goes into it so that people can receive it in a way that it feels very genuine. And I think that's the part that when we're not careful, or when we're too separated from the audience or the people that we do business with or those who we serve, we can think that we're doing something that, truth be told, might even be an inconvenience to you. Because I think sometimes we as business people, we judge the level of what we're giving based on how inconvenient it can be to us, right? Whether it took a lot of time for you to do or a lot of money. But what if that's not what your audience or your customers and clients really care for? So sometimes when there's a lot of separation and you're not in tune with what they really want, you can do something in a way that it's not to their liking, so it's not well received. So I mean, I think both are needed in a situation like that. And again, we go back to that Kevin Hart situation in which we covered, on the show, and he just grabbed his phone despite the apology or despite the advice that he was getting from his team, and he still kind of made that like, okay, let me go straight to my fans and kind of tell them what's really happening and express myself for myself. And I don't think he ever went to another platform immediately after until later down the line. It was talked about on other shows. But I just think there needs to be a little bit more thought, even the way the camera was angled, some of that stuff, it was a running joke. It was easy he gave the people a layup. I'm not gonna lie. He gave the people a layup with that type of setup.
Okay. All right. But definitely for our listeners and viewers, definitely check out that the Travis Scott interview with Charlemagne. Like I said, Charlemagne did a great job. Clearly prepared. He had his papers out. He was like, okay, hold on. We're going to ask these particular questions.
The facts.
Yeah. And if you got lost of why we're talking about Travis Scott, maybe you haven't checked that out, past ones, there was a big tragedy at his Astroworld festival where 10 have, I believe it's 10 at this moment, that have died from his festival, and hundreds of people injured. There's over $1 billion of lawsuit towards him and Live Nation and Apple and pretty much any company that was ever involved. Drake is even in some of these lawsuits. So yeah, go check that out. Give your own opinion. Let us know. You know what I mean?